What if I told you a huge empire that ruled millions of people lost everything in just a few hours? Not years. Not months. Just one battle. And by the end of this story, you'll understand how one big mistake can destroy even the strongest power. A long time ago, there was an empire that seemed unbeatable. It had a giant army, lots of land, and leaders who had already won many battles. People feared them. Enemies didn't even want to fight them. It looked like nothing could ever bring them down. But here's the surprising truth: sometimes, the strongest people fall because they become too confident. They start thinking they can't lose. And that's exactly what happened here. This empire had grown so powerful that its leaders believed no one could challenge them. They had won so many battles that victory felt normal. It was like a champion who never trains anymore because they think they'll always win. But in the real world, things don't work like that. The ruler of this empire was brave and powerful. He had a strong army behind him and a history full of victories. So when he heard about an enemy rising against him, he didn't feel worried. In fact, he saw it as another easy win. So he gathered his army, thousands of soldiers, weapons, and supplies, and marched confidently toward the battlefield. But here's the twist. The enemy he was facing wasn't bigger. They weren't stronger. But they were smarter. And they had something even more important to plan. When the battle started, everything looked normal at first. The big army moved forward, loud and confident. They believed the fight would be over quickly. But the smaller army didn't rush in. They waited. They watched. They chose the perfect moment. And then they struck. They attacked from unexpected places. They used the land to their advantage. They moved faster and made smarter decisions. Suddenly, the big army started to get confused. Orders stopped reaching soldiers. Leaders couldn't communicate properly. Some parts of the army didn't even know what was happening in other areas. Imagine playing a team game where nobody can hear each other anymore. No one knows the plan. Everyone is just guessing what to do. That's exactly what happened. Within a short time, chaos spread everywhere. The soldiers who were once confident started to panic. Some ran in the wrong direction. Others tried to fight but didn't know where to go. And just like that, the army that always won before started losing. So what caused this disaster? It wasn't just one mistake. It was many small ones that built up together. First, the empire underestimated its enemy. They thought being bigger meant being better. They didn't study their opponent carefully. Second, they didn't pay attention to the battlefield. The land, the timing, and the conditions all mattered, but they ignored them. And third, they refused to change their plan when things went wrong. Even when they saw signs of trouble, they kept doing the same thing. Meanwhile, the smaller army kept adjusting. They changed their moves quickly, took advantage of every mistake, and stayed one step ahead. That's what made the difference. Here's something really important to understand. An army isn't just about soldiers, it's about leadership. During the battle, many of the empire's leaders were lost or separated. Without clear leaders, the soldiers didn't know what to do. Think about it like this: if your teacher suddenly left the classroom and no one was in charge, things would get messy very quickly. That's what happened on the battlefield. Without direction, fear took over. And fear spreads faster than anything else. Once a few soldiers started running, others followed. Soon, entire groups were trying to escape instead of fighting. The army didn't just lose strength, it lost its courage. Now you might think, okay, they lost one battle. Can't they just rebuild and try again? But this wasn't just any loss. This battle changed everything. The empire's main army, the one that protected it, was gone. Their reputation, which once scared enemies, was broken. Other nations saw this and realized they're not unbeatable anymore. And that changed everything. Enemies became braver. They started attacking from different sides. Smaller groups that were once afraid now wanted freedom. Inside the empire, people began to doubt their leaders. And slowly everything started falling apart. The empire didn't collapse in a single moment, but that one battle started the chain reaction. Here's the scariest part. No one saw it coming. The empire believed it was too strong to fail. Even after the battle, they thought they could recover quickly. But something invisible had changed. Their confidence was gone. And once people stop believing in your strength starts to fade. Allies stopped trusting them. Enemies kept attacking. Leaders struggled to stay in control. And little by little, the empire lost its power. After the battle, there was no big final fight. No dramatic ending. Just a slow collapse. The empire broke into smaller pieces. It lost control over its lands. And over time, it disappeared from power. What was once a mighty empire became just a story in history. Now here's the most important part of this story. This isn't just about something that happened long ago. It's about a lesson that still matters today. Sometimes people become too confident. They stop preparing. They stop learning. They think they're already the best. But that's when problems begin. The empire didn't fall because it was weak. It fell because it stopped being careful. It stopped improving. And in a world that keeps changing, if you don't keep learning and adapting, you fall behind. Think about sports, school, or even games. The best players don't win because they're already great. They win because they keep practicing, keep learning, and stay focused. The moment you think you don't need to improve anymore, that's when you start losing. We often think big things take a long time to break. But sometimes everything depends on one moment. One bad decision. One wrong move. One battle. And that moment can change everything forever. Because that moment doesn't just affect what's happening right now, it changes what happens next. It destroys confidence. It opens opportunities for others. It shifts the balance of power. And once that shift happens, it's very hard to go back. An empire that ruled millions lost everything because it became overconfident and stopped adapting. The lesson is simple: no matter how strong you are, always stay alert, keep learning, and never underestimate others. If you enjoyed this story, you're going to love the next one where a single mistake changed history forever. Hit subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.